Hey everyone, it's Brooke. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a rant video. It is about a book. I wanted to do a different book review video because I wanted to start out with something a little more positive, but I found that I just was struggling reviewing a book positively. I'm not in the habit anymore, so finding the words was difficult. And I find it much easier to talk about something I did not like, so I'm going to ease myself back in, which means we're starting out negatively, which is sort of on brand here, let's be honest. Anyway, I do want to disclaim that if you like and love Connie Willis's Doomsday book, and this is very beloved among sci-fi fans and historical fiction fans, please don't at me. This is your warning. I'm not going to be nice. I pretty much loathed every aspect of this book, so just love yourself and just click back. And otherwise, let's get started. So this is not a book I ever would have picked up on my own, I don't imagine. I'd never even heard of it, to be honest. It is considered a sort of 20th century modern classic of the sci-fi world. It's written by a lady. It has a lady heroine. There are a lot of things about this that intrigued me. It's about time travel. So when my book club decided to read this, I got excited. So basically the premise is that in Oxford University, this is in the future, 2050 or so, there's like a time travel department. They're kind of like anthropologists, and one of the university students is being sent back to 1320, to the Middle Ages, to just do research about the time period. And when that happens, the time travel happens, things go wrong both in the past timeline and in the present timeline. And story sort of takes off from there. I also want to say that this video is going to have spoilers. You know what? If you don't want to know what happens, don't watch the video. I think that's the safest disclaimer I can give. So anyway, so that premise sounded like all of the things I love, okay? And then I started reading it, and I probably felt like DNFing it within the first 30 pages, which is pretty quick for me. But I kept going because, like I said, this was for book club, so I try to give book club books an extra effort. And I made it to page 200 out of 600, or close to 600, before I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. And I went and spoiled myself and read lots of criticism, both positive and negative, and decided that I had more than enough to have a good conversation about this book and why I feel the way I feel about it. So basically, that plot that sounds so exciting and had the potential to be so exciting and could be so exciting is it exists, but it is, I don't know that you could have made a time travel book duller. The pacing is slower than molasses. It's someone online, it's like swimming through mud. It is. For the first 100 pages, now listen, the main character, Kivrin, she gets sent back pretty much immediately to the past. We only see her for 2 short scenes in the first 100 pages in the past, and that's just, oh hey, I'm here, I'm in the woods. Where am I exactly in the woods? Oh, here's a road. That's it. For 100 pages of time travel into the past, that's the only thing that happened. And then in the next 100 pages, she gets sickness. So she's basically in a fever, delusional state, and she can't understand the language they're speaking. So it's just utter nonsense for, like 60 or so more pages until she comes to and realizes she's with this family and she can finally understand what they're speaking. But still nothing much happens until to page 200. There's a sequence where she's trying to find a person who apparently knows where the drop location where she landed, and she needs to get back there. So she needs to speak with him. And so she goes out, still pretty sick and weak, trying to find him, walks through the snow, sits inside of like a cabin for a few minutes, and sees a rat, has lots of thoughts, goes back out into the snow, decides that basically she's in trouble because she's too weak to get anywhere. And then finally the family finds her, takes her back to their house, and is like, oh hey, he's been waiting here to speak with you all along. Too bad you just missed him. And like that kind of thing happens so much where you almost get somewhere and then you end up right back where you started. Over and over and over again, both in the past and in the present. Because if you think the present is moving along at a swifter pace, it's not. It's just people arguing about Kivrin should never have been sent back in the past in the first place. Back and forth. She shouldn't. Yes, she should. No, she shouldn't. Yes, she should. The person who is like handling the computer, whatever now, sending her back on the computer, he comes down with an illness, and his whole thing is, oh, something went wrong, but he's kind of delusional too, so he can't like get out what's wrong. And another character just is like, what's wrong? Did something happen with Kivrin? And he's like, no, that's fine. Something's wrong. What's wrong? Did something happen with Kivrin? And these conversations happen over and 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 over again for 200 pages. And that's it. That's the plot for 200 pages. And there's some bell ringers from the US who are in town and who are upset because there's a quarantine that shut down Oxford because everyone's getting sick. And so they can't do their bell ringing. And we hear about that a lot. I mean, just the amount of repetition, the amount of dialogue that happens over and over and over again, the amount of just no plot progression whatsoever, like none. It just was sort of mind-boggling to me. Like, how does anyone get past the 200 pages? And I've heard, oh, well, we love the characters. You love the characters? They're like the most one-dimensional, like literally Dunworthy, his whole characterization is, I'm hyper worried about Kivrin and we should never have sent her back and I'm just going to sit here and fret for 200 fucking pages about that. That's it. That's his whole characterization. And then there's an antagonist to him that's just like, sort of in a different direction, like, yes, we should have sent her back. It's just that your staff are crap. And you hear about that over and over again. It's like, who are these characters you love? Kivrin is just naive and stupid. Why would she go back in time by herself to the 1300s? Why would anyone send her back there? I don't know. All of this is just bad. It's just bad. The plot is bad. For at least, and I've heard people say, oh, well, by page 400, it's just really great. Like, who the hell is going to read 400 pages of a book wanting to stab their eyeballs out the whole time to get to the sort of good part? Like, what? And so I was so angry at these things and having nothing to attach myself to in any sort of fondness that everything started to bug me. So like she's just like the technical aspects of her writing. There's literally a part where she says, and I probably would have looked over this had I been enjoying the book, but I wasn't, so I noticed, where Dunworthy's been in the hospital for 24 hours. He hasn't slept. He's so tired. And literally, as he is standing up, walking out of the hospital, his thought to him, or the narrator says, he was too tired to stand. He is literally standing when that sentence is uttered in this book, written in this book. And it's not like he could barely stand or he was walking like a zombie. No, it is he could not stand. And yet, he is standing. What the fuck? I don't understand how that's good. I'm sorry. And there's so many other places like that I could get really annoyed with and go on about. But I won't. I don't know, my accent's getting a little weird. But just know that it's just filled with that. And, reading the spoilers and what happened later and sort of the thematic stuff discussed, which gets very religious-y, there was nothing here for me. Nothing. I literally can't find a redeeming factor. So she wrote this book in 1992, and there's claims that she worked for like 5 years to like super research this and make sure it's completely historically accurate. Spoiler alert, there's an edition of this that has a whole like preface where all it talks about is how historically inaccurate it is. And normally those kinds of details, I might just gloss over, but In this book, she has Joan of Arc existing and being burned at the stake in the 1300s. Guess what did not happen in the 1300s? And I'm sorry, if you don't even know, if you can't even get that right, Joan of Arc existed 100 years later, in the 1400s and 15th century, and I just, you lose me. You lose me, because at the very least, there was a library book in 1992 that talked about Joan of Arc and when she was alive. So, we won't even talk about the fact that the future part of this book, like the part that takes place in 2050, feels like it's in the 1950s. And how this plot exists only because Connie Willis decided that cell phones weren't a thing that existed. Mobile phones, mobile technology, mobile communication devices just did not exist. Because if they existed, we wouldn't have 80 million pages of people talking about trying to get someone on a landline and not being able to find somebody and not being able to communicate with someone because they can't get them a fucking phone. I just really didn't like this book. Just really didn't. And I have read so many reviews where people have tried to defend this, and like, well, the last 200 pages and just the way you feel when you're so emotionally manipulated about the things that happen to the characters who get the plague, and the themes of, like, you know, faith and God and just sort of parental love are just so amazing in the last 100 pages. You know, there's this paragraph on page 550 that really moved me. You can keep it because I'm getting rid of it. So, yeah, this was just really, honestly, probably in my top 10 worst books I've ever read, unfortunately. And my book club pretty much all loved it. So, I feel like I know I'm not alone. I read dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of reviews that felt the exact same way as me. And people come and be like, oh, well, it's just, you're just ignoring the good parts and focusing on the bad. Maybe. But if the bad is so bad that I can't find a good part in it, Connie Willis, I'm done. I tried, I'm done. Anyway, if you've read this book and you've hated it too, let's talk about it down below. See you guys later.